The car market in Europe is not looking good. It's going down quite quickly. However, EVs are dropping even faster compared to hybrid. They were going to break that down, figure out what the heck is going on in Europe with EVs. We'll also talk about some other things going on currently in the market. For example, Sharp is working with Foxconn potentially to make some EVs. This is crazy. I mean, if we look at Sony, well, Sony's working with Honda, right? You look at Panasonic. Panasonic makes TVs. Well, I don't know if their TVs are as good as they used to be, but yeah, obviously they make some of the best batteries in the world. So I just find this interesting. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll talk about how the Model 3 is plunging in used car prices. There's lots of reasons for that. And then at the end, talk about ID4s going on stop sale in Chattanooga where they build them. So, and people are getting laid off too. So that's a little bit concerning, but hopefully you get this figured out because nearly 100,000 ID4s have been recalled. Now, I got some personal stories with this, so stay tuned at the end and let's get into it. All right, guys, if you enjoy auto industry news, every once in a while I'll do some updates on the EV auto industry because, well, it is the most fluid, seemingly out of everything in the auto industry. There's always something new happening with EVs. For better, for worse, I'm going to cover it. If there's something new and exciting for EVs, and I feel like it's worth covering on the channel, I'll cover it. Gosh, EVs really divide people. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to share what I'm seeing in the industry right now. I like EVs. They have great purpose for a lot of people out there. Man, I just drove the Honda Prologue last week. It's an okay EV. If they got rid of the synthetic noises that it makes under 24 miles an hour, it'd be a really, really decent EV. Driving it in town, like, it's hard to go back to gas driving in traffic because when you want to pass someone, it doesn't matter even how much power and torque your EV has, the response is instant, and it's hard to step out of an EV into a gas car just for city poking and prodding around traffic. It's hard to beat. Anyways, they have all sorts of issues in terms of desirability in the United States, and it's looking that way in the western end of Europe as well. New car sales in European Union fell 18%, and this is in the month of August. This is the lowest in 3 years. All right, Germany, the largest economy by a landslide in Europe, the largest auto market in Europe, tanking right now. France, also a big auto market in Europe, and Italy, all sliding. And what's even more concerning, this is a fourth consecutive monthly drop for EV sales. And the European Automobile Manufacturers Association is demanding urgent action to prevent further decline. They said EU institutions need to come forward with urgent relief measures before new CO2 targets for cars and vans come into effect by 2025, just next year. Sales for fully electric cars, guys, this is what if this isn't a red flag, I'll know what is. They slumped 44% in August. Germany and France recorded drops. Guys, this is why they're down so much. Yes, they're up in certain markets, maybe in Norway or something like that. Maybe Denmark. Those are much smaller car markets. But Germany and France are big car markets for Europe. And Germany dropped 69% and France dropped 33%. Now, I'm not exactly sure why France dropped so much with EVs, but I know for sure in Germany, why are they down nearly 70%? They reeled back a lot of their incentives for buying EVs, whether it's a tax break or tax credits or whatever it is. They took them out a little prematurely from my understanding as well. And so without those incentives, driving EV sales, a non-incentivized market is just saying, hey, the customers still prefer diesel, gas, hybrid because it is more convenient for the majority of people out there to have that sort of car over an EV. And you think of the Autobahn. EVs don't do that well on the highway, right? Their efficiency goes down quite quickly. And then you have to wait at a charging station to charge it back up, whereas gas or diesel, you just fill it up and go. And the range on a diesel especially is just absurd at high highway speeds. And let's look at BEV registrations in the European Union. It has fallen in the first 8 months, right? We said it's fallen 4 straight months, but as a total of the first 8 months, it is down. All right, so dark green is battery electric. And so the top graph here is the first 8 months of 2024 compared to 2023. And so we have a lesser of a penetration of EVs by a percentage, a little over a percentage point. Plug-in hybrids have gone down as well. Hybrid electrics have grown 5 percentage points roughly, right? There are others. What would others be? Fuel cell? I don't know what else would be others, but others seems to be around 2-3%, something like that. If you look at pure gas cars, of course, they're going to drop year over year. That's going to keep happening. And hybrids are looking the strongest growth right now, even in Europe. We know that in the United States, that is the case. Look, the Camry is fully hybrid right now. The Civic hybrid just came out. Watch my driving impressions on it. It's pretty dang good. Yeah, hybrids keep growing. The hybrid penetration keeps growing here in the United States. And 5 percentage points growth year over year is impressive. But diesel also is dropping. So you're seeing bigger drops in pure ICE and pure diesel. And we're seeing where are those buyers going? They're not going to EV. They're not going to plug-in hybrid. Most of them are going to hybrid right now. All right. And that bodes well for the Koreans. That bodes well for Toyota. Honda, Mazda, Nissan, they're all pretty small over there in Europe. Suzuki, very small as well. Volkswagen really needs to get their act together with hybrids once again. And Stellantis does as well. And Renault, I don't know anything about Renault. They're not really sold here. So Volkswagen is down 15%. Stellantis, well, Stellantis is down massive here in the United States. We're also seeing big drops in Europe, their home market for most of those brands that form Stellantis. 30% drop. Renault down 14%. And car sales in Europe are below pre-COVID levels. That is really worrisome. And Volkswagen thinks that September the trend is going to continue, and it's going to keep continuing for this market slump. The European market is ahead of the American market. This slump is coming for the American market. Who knows exactly when? It could be at the end of this year or early next year or maybe mid next year. It's hard to say when the domino effect will affect the American market like it is affecting the European market. Yesterday, the Feds just cut interest rates by a half point, but it's a half point. We need, I would assume we need bigger cuts than that to start moving the needle for desirability for new car purchases. The sticker price since 2018 to currently to 2024 with the pandemic in there, the chip supply issues, car prices have skyrocketed massively. All right, huge inflation, huge price increases. Dealers are making all-time profits, or at least they were during that time period. Automakers, at least a lot of them, were making all-time profits. When we look at Nissan, we look at Stellantis, their profits have completely evaporated. Will Toyota, will Honda, will Mazda? Well, Mazda's profits have evaporated too, even though their sales volume is at an all-time high here in the United States, but their profitability isn't that high right now because of their manufacturer incentives are quite strong. I had a friend that just bought a CX-90 with the 3.3 inline six turbo, fantastic vehicle. And also Mazda's advertising is quite high. It seems like every other video that I put out, Mazda puts an ad on to. So anyways, profitability is falling for these automakers. And if they're not able to make a profit, then they start reducing production volume. And when you do reduce production volume, the benefits of economy of scale also evaporate to a certain extent. And so it's just a slippery slope, and it can get really messy really quick here in the auto industry. You know, there's similar things going on in the housing market here in the United States as well. That's definitely outside of the scope of my channel, but everything's linked, right? The economy, these big markets, the housing market, the car markets, they are linked absolutely. Sales of the EV automaker Tesla, well, they've been down here in the United States, and they keep falling here in the United States too, year over year, I believe. However, I believe in August they may have had an uptake overall, but maybe have fallen a little bit in California. Anyways, I'm not going to cover that today, but in Europe, they fell 43% in August. SAIC from China, down 27.5%. All right, here's market share. Volkswagen is steady at 26%. Stellantis is dropping, right? They're down, about 30% year over year. So they're down to 17% market share. Renault keeps dropping as well. So their market share is losing. Toyota's even losing market share. This is surprising. Toyota was on a a kick these past 2 years. They kept gaining market share. And look, BMW has caught them. BMW here in the United States are very premium. I know over in Europe, you can get cheaper BMWs, more mass market and more affordable BMWs of different sizes and shapes, things like that. But here in the United States, they're very premium focused, very expensive cars. Mercedes-Benz dropping market share, Hyundai dropping market share, Ford dropping market share. Volvo's gone up. This week I'm driving the V60 cross country. Wait for my review on that. Nissan going down. Tesla slightly up on the year despite them having quite a rough last month in August. Suzuki slightly raising, Mazda slightly raising, SAIC is in a standstill. I mean, really, the only big mover here seems to be BMW in the right direction. To a lesser extent, these smaller companies down here, but BMW really the standout in the European auto market right now. Don't forget the tariffs placed on the Chinese EVs. That's not helping these companies like SAIC, for example, and it differs per brand depending on how much the EU believes the Chinese government is subsidizing the development of those vehicles. All right. So here in the United States, there's a 100% import tariff on Chinese cars. They don't have the best shot of surviving here in the United States. And in fact, only a few cars are brought in from China, sold as different brands. Look at Polestar 2. There might be, like, gosh, I think the Lincoln Nautilus is another one. There might be some more, maybe a Buick here or there. But to try to revive the market, Germany has agreed in September on tax deductions up to 40% for companies on their EV sales. Is that going to make a dent? I don't know. It'll be fun to see what happens. I don't think it's going to move the needle much in Germany. Campaign group Transport and Environment says in the EU they could see as high as 24% EV penetration by the end of next year, mostly because of lower selling prices. It's a possibility, but with the lower selling prices, are these companies making a profit? It's good for the consumer, but are these companies making a profit? If they're not making a profit, they're not going to try to sell these EVs at mass volume or at all. It'll be interesting. Hybrid electric vehicles have already gained traction in the EU in recent months. Buyers see them as an affordable compromise between combustion and all electric. Obviously, hybrid sales rose 7% in August to a market share of over 31%. We're going to move on. I'm going to skip over Sharp and Foxconn. I'll briefly touch upon this article. I can make a whole video just on this, but look at where the EVs and the used market have gone. This is just the last year. EVs, on average, 1 to 5 year old EV prices were at $35,000. In a year, they've plummeted to, let's say, $27,000, it looks like on this graph. And there it is. All right. Yeah. I guess I read the graph properly. So this is not good for EVs. The desirability is very low. The initial buyers seem to have already bought, and the used car market, people just aren't interested in owning a used EV compared to a used hybrid, which those are trending slightly in the positive direction, but they're slightly cheaper compared to last year as the market's starting to normalize. And also gas cars are coming down a little bit as well, but year over year, they're slightly down. So these lines for hybrids and gas cars being flatline means there's a good supply and demand. Where the EV market, there seems to be more supply than demand. Demand's dropping off. More used EVs keep hitting the used markets, whether it's from Hertz offloading their rental cars or EV owners, buyers, they want to get back into a gas car. And then you have all the additional competition from all these other manufacturers producing EVs, which is going to drive down the prices of especially Teslas. Tesla's lowering the prices on their new cars, which reduces the prices on their used cars. I mean, it's not looking like a bad time to buy a used EV. Again, it's got to work for you and your lifestyle. Can you charge at home? If not, it's a waste of time, or unless you can charge at work. So if you can charge somewhere for free, better yet. But a lot of boxes that need to be ticked in order for an EV to work for your situation. And for gas cars or hybrid cars, it's pretty simple. Go to a gas station, 5 minutes out of your week, fill up your car, and you're back on the road. In the back of your mind, when I have an EV to review, it's like 2 to 3 times the workload because there's all these other things that I need to cover with an EV, such as charging, such as efficiency, such as potential range, all that stuff. I think it's fun to geek out on, but the average person could care two craps less about that, and it's just more stress added to their daily life, and they just want something that's simple, it's going to work for them and not have to be babied. All right. And that's why we're seeing this big drop in EVs, because the novelty and maybe that hype has died down after reality sets in for a lot of people. I'm going to finish with Volkswagen here. Again, about 100,000 ID4s are on a stop sale, like the Grand Highlander, like the Lexus TX. That should start next month in October for the fix for those Toyota and Lexus models. But here's Volkswagen with a stop sale in of itself. This one not nearly as devastating in some ways compared to a faulty airbag situation, which you can strike your head on the A-pillar and your head could blow up. But here for Volkswagen, defective door handles over insufficient water protection. And this glitch can lead, to a printed PCB malfunctions of water seeps through and causes an open command while the door lock, and the door could lock while the vehicle is moving or unlock. Interesting. So this could be a potential safety hazard as well. I thought it was maybe just the door handles busting off. Cassie and I, early in our relationship, we had a Toyota Matrix that had a catastrophic handle design, and if you pulled slightly hard on those handles, they just bust off. So I was replacing those handles multiple times throughout our ownership, and I don't believe it was ever recalled. It's a nightmare situation. This seems to be worse because we never had any door lock malfunctions when our handles were broken on our Toyota Matrix. This looks like it could be a worse situation. This affects all 21 to 24 ID4s, and all door handles are included. And Volkswagen does not have a fix for the issue, and they will temporarily stop ID4 production at its Chattanooga factory until a repair is available. Oh my gosh, Volkswagen is furloughing 200 employees at the factory starting September 23rd. Oh my goodness. Not looking good for the ID4. To this date, it is the worst EV I've ever driven. I haven't driven one in a while, and I'm glad I haven't, unless they fix all the issues that I had with it. Lackluster throttle response, really awful software integration, terrible ergonomics with climate control, things like that. That's more of a Volkswagen downfall in general, but the ID4 definitely has it. And then it's stop and go braking is terrible. And the predictability of it was really, really bad. Is it a bad car? No. Is it a bad EV? Yes, it is the worst. I've driven dozens of EVs from different brands manufactured. The ID4 was the by far the least enjoyable out of all of them. So anyways, hopefully I didn't trigger anyone there. And if you do have an ID4 and you enjoy it, that's all that matters. If it makes you happy, that's all that matters. It was a prison for me when I had it for a week a few years back. But I'll see you guys in the comments. EVs, they're on some tough times right now. Obviously here in the United States where we have little infrastructure, but things are radically changing in Europe for EVs. They will still keep growing year over year. Well, they're not growing actually. They're negative, right? They will still grow here in the United States, but at what point are we going to see an overall 12 to 14% penetration, and then it'll just fall off after that? Like, here's the thing. The governments can force any type of car that they want due to emissions regulations, but if the customer doesn't want it, they're killing the businesses of their automakers, which is a big part of the economy for Europe, big part of the economy for any country that makes cars. And so it's a tricky situation. It's a lot of fun for me to cover. I'm glad I don't have to worry about it because I don't have any money tied up into these companies. I think, like last time I heard Volkswagen, a lot of the European automakers, their stock is like really, really poor right now. And there's not a lot of upside in the future. So anyways, you got to shut it down. I could talk about this all day. It'd be more fun to talk about it in a live stream format. I love live streaming. It's just hard to commit to it at a certain day, certain time with having a bunch of kids and having that's simple. I don't have to make any other excuses other than that right there. Thank you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.